Good day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Simplifying Fractions using the GCF, also affectionately known as the greatest common factor. So what if we have a fraction like 6/8? Is that in simplest form? No, it is not, because there is a number greater than 1 that can divide evenly into the top and the bottom number. So how do we find the greatest common factor? Well, we can do that by listing the factor pairs. So let's do that real quick. 1 times 6 is 6, and 2 times 3 is 6, and those are all the factor pairs of 6. Now let's list the factor pairs for 8. 1 times 8 is 8, and 2 times 4 is also 8. And then we just have to ask ourselves, what is the largest number that appears on both lists? In this case, 2 is the largest number that appears on both lists, so 2 is the greatest common factor. Now we can use the greatest common factor of 2 to simplify this fraction by simply dividing the top and the bottom number by 2. So let's do that. We got 6 divided by 2 is 3. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. And thus we have 6/8 in simplest form would be 3/4. Now, how do we know that 3/4 is the simplest form? Well, remember, a fraction is in simplest form when the greatest number that divides evenly into both the numerator and the denominator is 1. And in this case, 1 is the biggest number. So let's go ahead and try another fraction. What if I were to replace 6/8 with this particular fraction, 10/15? How would I simplify this using the greatest common factor? Well, first I would list the factors of 10 and then 15. So let's do 10 first. 1 times 10 is 10. And then 2 times 5 is 10. And those are all the factors of 10. Now let's do 15. 1 times 15 is 15. 2 won't go into 15 evenly, but 3 will. 3 times 5 is 15. And the greatest common factor is the biggest number that appears on both lists, and that would be 5. So let's use 5 to divide the numerator and the denominator, or the top and the bottom number, to simplify 10/15. So we'll go ahead and divide the top by 5 and the bottom by 5. Let's clean this up real quick. 10 divided by 5 is 2, so 2 is our numerator, and 15 divided by 5 is 3, so 3 is our denominator. Thus, in simplest form, we have 2/3. Let's do another one. What if I have a fraction like this? Let's say I've got 12/20. Once again, to simplify this, all I need to do is list the factor pairs and find the GCF, and that'll really help me. So let's do that with 12 first. 1 times 12 is 12. 2 times 6 is 12. And then, of course, 3 times 4 is 12. Now let's go ahead and do that with 20. 1 times 20 is 20. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 won't go into 20 evenly, but 4 will. We know that 4 times 5 is 20. And now we got to find out what is the biggest number that appears on both lists. And you guessed it, 4 is the biggest number, so 4 is the GCF. So let's go ahead and clean this up and divide the top and the bottom number by 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. And thus, 12/20ths in simplest form is going to be 3/5. Let's try another one just because we can, just because we want to, just because we're on our roll. So let's go ahead and erase this and change the fraction to 14/21. Once again, I'm going to list my factor pairs. So let's go ahead and do that. 1 times 14 is 14. 2 times 7 is 14. And that's basically it. Now let's do 21. 1 times 21 is 21. 2 won't go into 21 evenly, but 3 will. 3 times 7 is 21. And that's basically it. So 7 is going to be our greatest common factor. Let's go ahead and divide the top and the bottom number by 7 to simplify it. 14 divided by 7 is 2. And 21 divided by 7 is 3. So in simplest form, 14/21 can be simplified to 2/3. Let's do another one. What if I have 15/25? 15/25. Once again, I am simply going to list the factor pairs. 1 times 15 is 15. 2 won't go into 15 evenly, but 3 will. 3 times 5 is 15. And that's basically it. Now let's do the factor pairs of 25. 1 times 25 is 25. 2 won't go into 25 evenly, but 5 will. 5 times 5 is 25. And that's all of our factor pairs, which means that 5 is the greatest common factor. So let's clean this up and divide the top number and the bottom number by 5 to simplify this fraction. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. So 15/25 in simplest form is going to be 3/5. Now let's keep it going, you guys. Let's keep simplifying with a GCF. The next fraction on our list is going to be 18/24. 18/24. And just like always, we're going to list the factor pairs. 1 times 18 is 18. 2 times 9 is 18. And 3 times 6 is 18. And that's all the factor pairs of 18. Now let's do 24. 1 times 24 is 24. 2 times 12 is 24. And then, of course, 3 times 8 is 24. And that's, I almost forgot about 4 times 6 is 24. So there's a few extra factor pairs there. So what is the biggest one that appears on both lists? That's right, 6 appears on both lists, and it's the largest common factor or greatest common factor. So let's go ahead and clean this up and simplify. So we'll go ahead and divide the top and the bottom by our GCF, which is 6. 18 divided by 6 is going to be 3. And then, of course, 24 divided by 6 is 4. So 18/24 in simplest form is 3/4. Let's keep it going. Let's keep doing some example problems. If I give you a bunch to try with me, that'll hopefully cement this knowledge in your brain. Let's do 20/28. So we got 20 over 28. Let's list the factor pairs. 1 times 20 is 20. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 won't go into 20 evenly, but 4 will. 4 times 5 is 20. And now we move down to 28, because that's all the factor pairs for 20. 1 times 28 is 28. And 2 times 14 is 28. Will 3 go into 28 evenly? 3 will not go into 28 evenly. Will 4 go into 28 evenly? It will, actually, because 28 times 4, 4 times 7 is 28. Goodness gracious me. We made it. So the greatest common factor of 20 and 28 is going to be 4. And now we can use that to simply divide the top and the bottom number to simplify this fraction. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. 20 divided by 4 is 5. And 28 divided by 4 is 7. So 20 28ths in simplest form is going to be 5/7. Let's keep going. Let's get some more examples in. As you can tell, even I make mistakes sometimes. So let's do 24 over 36. 24 over 36. Let's list the factor pairs. 1 times 24 is 24. 2 times 12 is 24. And 3 times 8 is 24. And 4 times 6 is 24. Let's go ahead and do that for 36. 1 times 36 is 36. And then 2 times 18 is going to be 36. And 3 times 12 is 36. And 4 times 9 is 36. And then, of course, 6 times 6 is 36. And I think we got all of our numbers listed there. So now we just got to figure out what's the biggest one that appears on both lists. Well, it looks like 12 is going to be the greatest common factor. So let's go ahead and use 12 to simplify this. Go ahead and clean it up. Make sure we got room on this page to work. Okay, 12 is the GCF, so we'll divide the top and the bottom by 12. 24 divided by 12 is 2. And then 36 divided by 12 is 3. So 24 36 written in simplest form is 2/3. Let's keep going. Let's keep pounding these bad boys out. Plenty of practice, because simplifying fractions, you guys, is absolute key. You need to be able to do this, so that's why I'm spending some time. We got 27 over 36. Now the good news is once you've done this a while, a lot of them you'll just be able to look at and you'll see the GCF, which is nice, but it does take practice. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's list the factor pairs of 27. So 1 times 27 is 27. Will 2 go into 27? 2 will not go into 27, but 3 will. We know that 3 times 9 is 27, and that's basically it. So let's do 36 now. 1 times 36 is 36. 2 times 18 is 36. And will 3 go into 36? That's right, it will. 3 times 12 is 36. Will 4 go into 36? 4 will. 4 times 9 is 36. Will 5? No. Will 6? Yes. 6 times 6 is 36. And now we ask ourselves, what is the biggest number that appears on both lists? And we can tell that the biggest number that appears on both lists is going to be 9. So we can actually use 9 to simplify this particular fraction. So let's go ahead and clean it up. Clean this up and we'll do our division using 9 as our GCF. 27 divided by 9 is 3. And 36 divided by 9 is 4. So 27/36 in simplest form is going to be 3/4. Let's keep it going. Let's do another one. What if I have 28 over 35? Now, once again, I'm going to solve this by finding the greatest common factor. So we'll list the factors. 1 times 28 is 28. And 2 times 14 is 28. And 3 won't go into 28, but 4 will. I know that 4 times 7 is 28. And that's basically it. So now let's list the factor pairs of 35. 1 times 35 is 35. 2 won't go into 35. Will 3 go into 35? No. Will 4 go into 35? No. Will 5 go into 35? Yes. 5 times 7 is 35. And that's basically it, which tells me that 7 is going to be our greatest common factor. So now I simply need to clean this up and divide the top and the bottom number by 7. So we'll go ahead and do that. 28 divided by 7 is 4. 35 divided by 7 is 5. Thus, 28/35 in simplest form is 4/5. Let's keep it going. What if I have a fraction like 32 over 48? Let's do that. Let's list the factor pairs. As per usual, I know that 1 times 32 is 32. 2 times 16 is 32. 3 won't go into 32 evenly, but 4 will. 4 times 8 is 32. And that's pretty much it. So now let's do 48. 1 times 48 is 48. 2 times 24 is 48. Will 3 go into 48? If I ever have a question, I can just do 48 divided by 3. And if I do that, it equals 16, which means that 3 times 16 is 48. Will 4 go into 48? Well, once again, if I divide 48 by 4, then I get 12, which means 4 times 12 is 48. Will 5 go into 48? No. Will 6? Yes. I know that 6 times 8 is 48. And it's a good thing because I just ran out of room. So the biggest number that appears on both lists happens to be 16. I was going to say 8, but it's actually 16. So let's go ahead and clean this up and do our division. We're going to divide the top and the bottom number by 16. 32 divided by 16 is 2. And then 48 divided by 16 is 3. So in simplest form, 32/48 can be written as 2/3. Let's keep it going. What if I were to have a fraction like this? 35/49. Well, I need to list the factor pairs. 1 times 35 is 35. 2 won't go into 35. 3 won't go into 35. 4 won't, but 5 will. I know that 5 times 7 is 35. Now let's do 49. 1 times 49 is 49. 2 won't go into 49. 3 won't go into 49, 4 won't go into 49, 5 won't go into 49, 6 won't go into 49, but 7 will. And guess what? 7 is our greatest common factor because it appears on both lists and it's the biggest number. So let's use that. We'll go ahead and clean this up. Cleaning it up, and we'll divide the top and the bottom number by 7. 35 divided by 7 is 5. And 49 divided by 7 is 7. Thus, 35/49 can be simplified into 5/7. Let's keep it going. What if we had a fraction like this? 36/54. 36/54. Now, once again, I want to list my factor pairs, so let's do this. 1 times 36 is 36. 2 times 18 is 36. 3 times 12 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36, and 6 times 6 is 36. Now let's do 54. 1 times 54 is 54. And 2 times 27 is 54. Will 3 go into 54? It will, believe it or not. 3 times 18 is 54. Will 4 go into 54? Well, no, it won't go evenly. Will 5 go into 54? No, but 6 will. We know that 6 times 9 is 54. So what is the greatest common factor? Well, if we look at this, we can see that the biggest number that appears on both lists is going to be 18. 18 is the greatest common factor. So let's go ahead and clean this up, and let's do our division. "36 divided by 18 is 2. And 54 divided by 18 is 3. So 36/54 in the simplest form is going to be 2/3. Let's keep it going. What if we had a fraction like this? 40/56. Let's list the factor pairs. 1 times 40 is 40. 2 times 20 is 40. 3 won't go into 40 evenly, but 4 will. 4 times 10 is 40. And then, of course, 5 times 8 is 40. Now let's list the factor pairs of 56. 1 times 56 is 56. And what's 50? How many times will 2 go into 56? Well, 2 times 28 is 56. Will 3 go into 56? Well, 3 won't go into 56 evenly. What about 4? Let's do 56 divided by 4. Turns out that 4 times 14 is 56. Will 5 go into 56? No. Will 6 go into 56? No. Will 7? Yes. We know that 7 times 8 is 56. Thus, the greatest common factor will be 8. So let's go ahead and clean this up. And let's simplify these, or this fraction, using 8 as our GCF. Let's go ahead and divide the top by 8. 40 divided by 8 is 5. And the bottom by 8. 56 divided by 8 is 7. Thus, 40 over 56 in simplest form is 5/7. Let's keep going. What if I were to have a fraction like this? 42 over 54. Let's list the factor pairs. 1 times 42 is 42. 2 times 21 is 42. Will 3 go into 42? I'm not sure. Let's do 42 divided by 3. Yes, it will. 3 times 14 is 42. Will 4 go into 42? No. Will 5 go into 42? No. Will 6? Yes. 6 times 7 is 42. Now let's go ahead and do 54. 1 times 54 is 54. Will 2 go into 54? It will, I know, because it's even. So let's do 54 divided by 2, which gives me 27. So 2 times 27 is 54. Will 3 go into 54? 3 will. 3 times 18 is 54. Will 4 go into 54? I highly doubt it. As a matter of fact, I know it won't. Will 5 go into 54? No. Will 6 go into 54? Turns out it will, because remember, 6 times 9 is 54. And now we have to ask ourselves, what is the largest number that appears on both lists? And in this case, the obvious answer is 6. 6 is our greatest common factor. So let's go ahead and clean this up and divide both the top and the bottom number by 6 to simplify. 42 divided by 6 is 7. And 54 divided by 6 is 9. Thus we can see that 42 54ths in simplest form is 7/9. Let's do one more and then call it a day. Let's just suppose that I have a fraction not unlike this, 45 60ths. How on earth would I simplify such a fraction? The same way we've been simplifying for the last 50 million years. Has it been that long? Let's list the factor pairs. 1 times 45 is 45. 2 won't go into 45, but 3 will. 3 times 15 is 45. Will 4 go? No. Will 5 go? Yes. 5 times 9 is 45. And that's it. And now we must do 60. 1 times 60 is 60. 2 times 30 is 60. Will 3 go into 60? It will indeed. 3 times 20 is 60. Will 4 go into 16? It will, of course. 4 times 15 is 60. Will 5 go into 60? Indeed it will. Am I going to run out of room? It would appear as though I am. 5 times 12 is 60. Will 6 go into 60? It will. 6 times 10 is 60. I do apologize for running out of room, but all we need to look at is the largest number that appears on both lists, and that number happens to be 15. Believe it or not, that's a 15. So, 15 is our greatest common factor. Let's go ahead and clean this up. Let's do some simplifying, and let's call it a day, shall we? 45 divided by 15 is 3. And 60 divided by 15 is 4. Thus, the simplest form of 45 over 60 is 3/4. I do hope that this extended tutorial was beneficial to you, and that you are now incredible at simplifying fractions using the greatest common factor. If you're not, I tried so hard, so here's hoping.